The new Indiana Jones movie is a $300 million budget, like disclosed production budget.
300?
297, yeah.
So it's got to be. So it's going to be around 600.
It has to basically be $1 billion movie to make money. Yeah, because $300 million production budget. You could be conservative and estimate $100 million in marketing, even though it's going to be way more than that. But just that, you'd have to make $800 million to break even. I think $900 million is probably going to be like the official break-even point for it. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull made like $775 million at the box office, which probably did make money because it was probably like back then probably $150 million production budget or something. And this was all the way back in 2008, mind you. Like that's a long fucking time ago. I don't know. I just don't see an Indiana Jones movie doing $1 billion from this Lucasfilm.
So how you have to look at a lot of these movies, and we've seen it time and time again. Movies like Spider-Man 3, for instance, this is Tobey Spider-Man 3. That was the biggest one of that trilogy in terms of box office, but it was getting momentum off of the second one because the second one was so positively received. And of course, it ended up killing the franchise, at least that continuity anyway. And we've seen that happen many, many times. And so the last movie tends to set the tone for the next. Now, I know it's been a long time. It's been a long time since we've had an Indiana Jones, but that was not a good movie at all. And it left a bad taste in people's mouth. You've got an old Harrison Ford. You've got it coming off of the last movie, which has a ton of hatred towards it, rightfully so. This latest version has been through development hell. It's coming out under current Lucasfilm, which is a complete disaster. I just don't think it has a lot of momentum at all. Do I think it could lose money? That's the question. Could it lose money? I don't think it's going to lose money because it's still Indiana Jones.
Oh, it's going to
lose.
Dude,
lose.
I don't see this movie making $700 million. Like,
I think break even is possible. I think that's dude.
But if the break even point's $900 million, man, like I don't know, bro.
Are we sure that it's 900 million? I would put it around 700. I would put it around 700.
You can put that there, but $300 million production budget.
Yes.
If that was the only money they spent on this thing, just $300 million production budget, and they never spent a dime on marketing, the break even would be somewhere in the $600 million range, right? Because you get a little bit more than 50% back from domestic box office. You get a little less than 50 from international box office. And then obviously China, if it gets released in China, that's a different factor because you barely get any money from the China box office. But if they even spend $100 million, which is going to be more, they spent $100 million marketing on Shazam. Shazam 2 had a $100 million marketing campaign.
Okay, then let's call it. Let's call it in the middle. Let's call it 800. Then we'll just call it 800. If
I think that's conservative. Then that's saying like bare minimum marketing.
Well, I understand that, but yeah, I would say it's not going to make money if we're putting it at 800. So
yeah,
I was more so putting it around 6 because I typically just double production. So that's usually you double production with marketing. So that means if it's a $300 million production, then you double it with marketing. So that puts it needs to make 600. That's where I was putting break even at. But earlier, I know you had said it could be around 800 or 900. So if it's 800 or 900, it's not making money.
So typically, right, the general rule of thumb, right, is anywhere between 2.5 to 3 times whatever production budget is for your actual break even. Because that all depends on your marketing costs, right? Because the box office, people forget this all the time. You see people in the comments like, well, Ant-Man, and it cost $250 million, $200 million production budget, but it made $450 million at the box office. It clearly made more money than it cost. No, because the box office takes their money back. The box office, in the United States, domestically, the studio gets to keep around 55% of the money from the theaters. Internationally, they get to keep about 40% of the money. The theaters get the rest of it because obviously they're fucking making money too. So yeah, we're talking $800 million is the most conservative fucking estimate possible as this break-even point. It's likely $900 million or more.
I honestly can't believe I'm about to say this. I'm pretty excited for Indiana Jones now. Not for the movie, because we are gonna roast this thing. We're gonna make fun of it. It's going to be a trash fire. And I just can't see how it can actually be a good movie. Maybe it can, but I just don't see it. I don't see how that can be a good movie.